time from her class to present this 20-year-old idea we came up with in 1998 on how to dunk an Oreo properly. I will admit that it wasn't actually my original idea. I've got a friend named Ted who actually invented it, at least I think so, in Wilmsville, New York in 1998. And I happened to be eating dinner with him when he did it. And so we, over the last 20 years, have been perfecting this idea of the optimal way to dunk an Oreo. So, without further ado, I will engage in the 12-step process for the universal Oreo dunking method. It starts with an authentic cookie, okay? So some of y'all may have seen other types of sandwich cookies. That's fine. Everybody has their favorites, but if you want to do the Oreo dunking method, you need an Oreo cookie. Okay, so just to get that established. This is Ted and me in 1998. Actually, it might have been a little bit later than that when we were finally trying to establish the process of how to dunk Oreos. But that led to a whole bunch of discoveries along the way. The first one was you actually need the right type of utensil, not just any fork will do. And in fact, I'm going to break the rules just a little bit with our volunteers by using a plastic fork, which may or may not work. This is going to be, we're on the fly today, okay? But generally you want a fork that has reasonably sharp tips, and they all have to be flat, and you'll see why in just a second. Other utensils are out there. In fact, I saw a person about 5 years ago come up with an idea called the Dipper, D-I-P-R. You can look it up. They actually did a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter thing, and the guys raised $10,000 to develop this little hooked thing that wraps around the cookie. Well, I did one of those myself in my shop. I built one, a prototype, just to test it out. And it turns out it actually does work. But there are so many scenarios where dippers don't actually do the job. Like what happens when the thing falls in the bottom of the cup? And now you got your little hook trying to get it out. No, the fork is the one you need. You know what I'm saying? So this is the perfect Oreo dipping tool. Next is a really important characteristic called the temperature of the milk. Okay, you don't want warm milk for this because I'm just saying the temperature of the milk is associated with, anybody taking physics? Anybody? Okay, well, short physics lesson. The warmer your milk is, the less cohesive tension the liquid has. So it doesn't grab hold of the stuff around it as well. Okay? So when it's cold, it tends to stick better. That's a kind of a layman's version of it. But 34, 36 degrees is about right. Anybody else like cold milk? Okay, we got one too. Good. Next thing is what we lovingly refer to as the depth of dunkability. This is important, y'all, because if you just stick the cookie into the milk, just barely at the top there, you don't have enough pressure from the liquid to press in the milk into the pores of the wafer. Y'all think I'm crazy, don't you? Listen, this is a 20-year quest we've been on to discover the best way to dunk an Oreo. And stuff like this comes up. This is how rockets get to the moon, y'all. We think about stuff like this. So I've given you two places where it actually works. Over here on the left, we have a tall glass, and you can dunk it down. Over here, we have a short glass, so you got to go a little farther. But in general, you need about an inch from the top of the milk to the top of the cookie. If you can't get your cookie that far, you need to add more milk. And this is an important concept because if you plan on having a stack of 4 or 5 cookies, every cookie is going to absorb some milk. It's going to take away from your glass. So you need to put enough in so that by the time you're done, you still have enough depth of dunkability. Is everybody with me on this? Okay. Next, we have the piercing technique, and I'm going to just demonstrate that here. Brand new pack of cookies. I'm going to grab one here. First of all, you hold the cookie firmly, but not too firmly, with 2 fingers on top and a thumb on bottom, just like this. Hold it flat. You take your fork in your other hand, upside down. Don't try to do this thing. It doesn't work as well. Upside down, and you come in flat, and you just very slowly, easy, edge that guy in there. Not too far, because you'll push the wafers apart. You know what I'm saying? Just far enough. And I have forgotten to fill my glass. We're going to do that real quick. quick here. Oh boy. This is a lesson in public speaking. You gotta be able to adjust when weird things happen in the middle of your speech, don't you?
That's right, absolutely.
Okay. So we're gonna fill this glass to enough depth of dunkability. Say yay. Okay. Now, if you don't want a whole bunch of milk after you're done, because it is important, Mom says, when you're done, you got to drink your milk. You don't just leave this stuff in the glass, you got to drink it up, right? So, choose the glass carefully, is what I'm saying. So now, and I haven't done I've only pierced. Now we've got the piercing done. Here we go, here's the dunk. Carefully immerse the entire forked cookie into the cold milk to your optimal depth of dunkability. Okay, so a little bit farther, a little bit higher, doesn't matter. Step will require significant experimentation as you discover your optimum DOD. Okay, now you're going to be, what are you talking about optimum DOD? How do you decide? Well, when you actually dump this dude in here, hey y'all, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. You get to decide how long you leave it in. That was just about right. However, everybody's going to have their own ideas about what that is. So you have to discover your personal, uniquely perfect moment. Okay? Everybody has a different time that they want their cookie to come up out of that milk. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Some people like it soft, gooey, little, pasty. That's kind of a negative word, I think, but some people like that. Other people like a little crunch. I'm kind of a crunch person. I tend to lean more to the early side of things. But in no case should you ever allow your cookie to stay in so long that you hit the dropping point. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You've had that happen, yeah? Just a little too long. You got distracted, your cookie's in the milk, and all of a sudden, whammo, there it's in the bottom of the cup. We don't want that. If you wait too long for your uniquely perfect moment, you might cross the dropping point, and let me tell you, that's going to be upsetting, because then you're going to have this issue right over here, where you got a cookie in the bottom of your milk, and you got to drink that dude. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so how do we discover this uniquely perfect moment? It turns out that God has given us in physics a way to do that. It's called bubble analysis. Anybody can do it. Listen, all you got to do, when you put that cookie down in there, I'm going to do another one here. I think it's going to work. Yeah. You stick that down in, go down past the depth of dunkability. You watch those bubbles. In the beginning, there won't be any bubbles, and then they'll start kind of slow, and then they'll kind of really get frothy, and then they'll kind of back off a little bit, and finally there'll be no more bubbles, okay? That whole process, you can analyze, and you get to decide, do I take my cookie out when the bubbles start, or when they get really good, or when they're done? You just decide, and every time, this is like science, y'all. You can do it the same every single time. You just decide, you analyze your bubbles, you say, okay, bubbles are, okay, right, just perfect, and out they come. Everybody got that? So you can find your uniquely perfect moment using bubbles as a guide. Now, this is an important aspect. It's going to involve some physics. It involves this cohesive tension thing, but bringing that cookie up out of the milk is a three-phase process. First of all, you ascend, but as you ascend, you rotate. And when you come out of the milk, you want to be in a horizontal staging phase. And let me demonstrate that. I'm going to use another one here. There we go. Watch as I'm going to analyze my bubbles. And that's right about where I want. So when I come up, I'm not going to go up like this. Look at that. See that? Horrible. See all the milk that came out of there? That's because gravity overcame cohesive tension, y'all. So this is really not what you should be doing, but we're going to put it back down. And as I come up, I rotate. Look. Huh? Physics. Some of y'all want to be rocket scientists now, I can tell. That's the difference. Triphase extraction holds the milk into the cookie when you come up into a horizontal staging position. That was perfect. Everybody got it? Coming to ascension, rotation, horizontal staging. The 11th step is consumption, enjoyment, and Thanksgiving. Waste no time. Don't hold up very long. Get that thing in your mouth so you can enjoy it. And there's a scripture verse there, but I don't want to offend anybody, so I will. And then the last thing, discipline, y'all. Discipline. Don't eat the whole package. Because if you do, you'll be like Timothy there, who ate the whole thing and wishes he didn't. Like 3 or 4, that's all you need. Just a few, enjoy yourself, move on. And in dedication, I'd like to thank the original inventor, Mr. Theodore Elliott from Durhamville, New York. He was the original inventor of the Oreo technique, and since then, he and I together have developed this full universal method of Oreo dunking that we believe should satisfy everybody's needs. Is there any questions? Okay. The person who gave the Oreo, the idea for putting the fork in the Oreo, who was that? What's your name?
It was a group.
Okay.
It was us 3.
Okay. And how did you come up with that idea?
He came up with the idea.
Had you seen it before?
No, I was watching a movie and I was also doing homework and I didn't want to get my hands dirty. So took a fork, stuck it in here, and
Okay, so it was an original idea. Yeah.
kind of, I guess.
Okay. Well, you got to give the guy credit. This happens a lot, y'all. In history, there have been a number of times where inventors have independently discovered things, and they both wrote about them and presented them to their particular standard societies or whatever. And political firestorms start over this kind of stuff. I'm not going to do that. Okay. I'm just gonna say, 20 years ago, we independently came up with this idea, but here's a young fella who, by himself, came up with it 20 years later. We can go forward together in this thing, okay? But if there's any royalties, we get first dibs. All right. Okay, so I need 3 volunteers. We got Jaden and Corey and Carlos. That's right. Come on up, Cal. Get your fork. We're gonna have a little fun here. Y'all need to stand over here where everybody can see you. Okay, Jaden, take yourself a cookie. Y'all, be careful because you're going to learn from his mistakes. Go ahead and give us your. Yeah, you're doing that right there. Okay, perfect. Nice. Good. Okay. Depth of dunkability. Yeah. How's that bubble analysis going? Rotation. Perfect. Look at that. Okay. Carlos, go ahead. Oh, he's got a little separation there. How's that going to work out? Okay. Depth of dunkability. Yeah. See those bubbles going? You decide. You can hold the glass. You can hold the glass up if you want. It's up to you. Rotation. Yeah.